Wait, technical difficulties. So.
Can you hear me anyway?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you very much. It was called I Hear a Rhapsody, which I wrote it. It's on an album. Easy Flight? Easy Flight, right. On an album I did called Easy Flight. We have an hour and a half or so. So I usually start some of these proceedings one foot at a time, the other way around. I'm here to answer questions that you may have. So we're going to do the question and answer part first. Are there any questions that you, things that you would like to know about either my career, me, my approach, jazz music? If not, then I'll go with direction. Any questions? Yes.
Early influences.
Early influences. All right. I had the good fortune, I guess, to be born. My father was a drummer, although he was raised with me, so I did see, I think, early influences. I started playing in grade school, and whoever the top guy was in the school was my early influence to play that. By the time I got to junior high school, we had the same process. There was when I got into high school, Chico Hamilton helped me a great deal. He had graduated from the same high school. There was another guy named U.R. McCrae who was very good. Guys who had names. I was a Gene Krupa fan. They had a movie out with Gene Krupa. And I liked show business a lot. There was a guy named C.P. Johnson who played at the Lincoln Theater. We used to go see shows. And he had great long tom-toms and mallets, chorus line, African civic dancing, all that stuff, you know. And then when I went down to the orchard to see Gene Krupa, he had the keg lights and stuff. And they said that on the program, it said that he wore the silver chain to strengthen his left hand. So I went out and bought the silver chain. Didn't work, but, you know. But then later on, I heard Joe Jones. And I guess you know him as Papa Joe Jones. And that did it for me because that was the whole orchestra. I hadn't heard it, but which I've heard of him, but those days we didn't have the home I was brought up in, we didn't have a record player. So I went out on the street. But I think Joe Jones became it for me from that point on. And then basically just everyone I ever heard who could play, you know, became sort of influenced. I still have influences, you know. I remember when Tony came out, I didn't want to believe any young man could play like that. I was with Oscar Peterson, someone said, you gotta hear this guy. I said, 17, forget it, nobody could play. And you get intimidated after a while, you know, you see. Art Blakey, of course, was an influence. When I got in the Army, I heard people like Jack Sperling. How many of you know Jack Sperling? Here? No one? Well, if you go back in the archives, I saw an old clip radio show. How many of you heard Les Brown's band? You know? You should write down these names. This is part of your history. And these things are forgotten. But anyway, Jack Sperling, when I was in the Army, I heard this guy. His cymbal beat was so clean, you know. You take little things. I locked onto it right away. Shelly Manne was also good. I liked his fantasy, you know. So when I saw Ray Duke, I loved his touch. You know, he played songs like Red Marble. This guy played. I saw him in the picture that band one time. And he played. And he didn't raise any higher than this on the drum. Max Roach, of course, was a great influence. So as I said before, you got the Art Blakey's. Then when I saw Roy later on, trying to do some of the stuff, you know, we're all still trying to catch up with him. So I would say my main influence was Joe Jones. I have to give that to him because he was just so complete. His cymbal beat, when I heard his cymbal beat, I practiced on the pillow. Imagine the sound. How to get the dynamics and everything up there. And then when I met him, he was very helpful. Then my father, get too busy. That was what they wanted you to do, was swing. So from that point on, I don't know if I lived on it, but and you know, to be honest, but it doesn't stop. Influences don't stop. They're just as important. The ones I have now are just as important as the ones I had at the beginning. They all come out of something. Like today, people like Marvin Smith, people like Dennis Chambers in another way. But I would say today, Louis Nash is got a very, he's coming out of me, coming out of Joe, doing his, adding something to it, hip hop stuff, and it's really nice. So, crying out loud, you, it's so, you know, who for me plays one of the best shuffles I ever heard. You know, I heard Clark Terry doing this stuff. God dang, that's good. So you grab some of that, you know. My mentor said that you have many, it takes many people to make up you. He said you put me here, since you like that. He said, put Gene over here, and put Max here, so-and-so here. Don't forget your daddy, he can play, you know. Make sure he's down there, he's already there. Acknowledge it. So you never know who you have to call. What I meant by that is if you find a situation, I mentioned Gene Cooper. I played with Terry Gibbs and Buddy Franco. When they go into, you know, what's that called? Boom. What's that?
Yeah, I know the tune,
It's been a good thing.
Airmail special.
Yeah, Airmail Special. When they go into that, or you play with Teddy Wilson, you know that Teddy Wilson loves Joe Jones, he loves Gene Cooper. So you reach in and grab out parts of that and do it your own way, you know, but you get that. It's like theater. I think of these things like when we play, it's like theater. You put on different roles, you know, but you do it, you interpret it your own way after you've learned what the master do. And I'm taking so long for that because it's amazing that those, don't be afraid to simulate or copy. Then you get your own voice. If you don't put anything in, you can't get anything out. So it's like coming something. I'm going to do my own thing. You don't know nothing. How are you going to do something when you don't have nothing? Okay. Another question. Yes.
What are some things, if any, that Oscar Peterson,
I beg your pardon?
what are some things, if any, that Oscar Peterson told you about playing drums, playing jazz?
Oscar Peterson?
Yeah,
Names
yes.
that he told me
You know,
about?
things that he said, anything.
Oh, things that Oscar Peterson said outside of every other week. You're fired. Let's see about that. No, and I, you know, ask me. The man is a genius, and they don't know the same second. Same with Buddy Rich. And it ties in, answering the question. You know, it's a funny thing about geniuses. They don't know that what they do is hard. You know, it's hard. You just do it. You know, Buddy Rich said, you just do it. I said, how would you teach somebody to play? He said, well, I give them 2 sticks, and show them a single stroke, 1 stroke at a time. Bang, bang, this is a double stroke, 2 at a time. Set down the drums, you know, play or not. But Oscar Peterson, some of the things. Well, mainly groove, swing. When I joined him, the devices that I used were pretty much up to date. You know, finding things to play. But the main thing, I had a problem for that particular gig when I first joined them. I was soloing, mostly fairy soloing, because I worked with Billy Tate, and I worked with Bud Powell before him, and a whole bunch of people. But with him, it was just, you had excellence. That what we were doing had to be, on our worst night, would be better than most people on their best night. It was striving to be, wasn't even striving to be demanded. There's no cheating. You don't coast on any song. It's balanced. Every song was an opener and a closer. Every song. every beat. You wake up, you hit, bang, that's it. So I would say the most important thing I learned was that learn how to be consistent with making every hit meaningful. And to capsulize it, that would be it. That would be it. Do your job. Another thing that happened was at the beginning when we would play fours, I had a tendency to sometimes run over the bar line because at that time I still hadn't locked into certain ways of how I could really phrase making statements, so to speak. But the point is, actually I was still running over bar lines and I wasn't getting those figures down in the or whatever. And that was, and I would always had an aversion to playing fours. I never did really particularly like playing fours, unless you're playing, you know, very creative people who give you room. The other thing I didn't like was that everything stopped, and I was used to, because coming out of Billy, and I played with Lynn Tristano and Bud and different people, I had more leeway, more freedom. With that group, he knew exactly what it was, more structured, if you understand what I mean. Slung, he was a genius as far as, and everything, the shout choruses, everything was very precise, you know. But when it came time to play solos, I had some long solos later on. In the beginning, I went in, I was playing my solos, I had the mounts going and everything, got big applause, the part was really great. I was sitting there. He said to me one night, he says, all right, now when you learn how to play fours, you come in on one, it's like you're waiting all the time for your solo. You approach every tune the way you want to play your solo. Play for us the same way. So little by little, you begin to learn that every tune is a solo, whether you're playing time or whatever. You know. So those are the things that I learned: consistency, professionalism. You know, your approach to a tune, the ballad approach. A lot of people don't know he plays beautiful ballads. You know, just everything's not really fast. But again, I can't mention Oscar Peterson now, in all honesty, without saying, if I hadn't been with Billy Taylor, if I hadn't been with Bud Powell, if I hadn't had a chance to play with Teddy Wilson and the people before, and if I didn't like, although I didn't know the composers, if I hadn't listened to a lot of classical music, just, you know, I just enjoyed the colors of playing, and if I hadn't listened to nature, I wouldn't have really been able to hold that gig that long, to do some of the solo music. You know. So it's like being prepared. That was the main thing. Excellence and consistency. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Could you show us some vintage JoJo patterns?
Do what?
Show some vintage JoJo brush patterns?
Brush patterns?
Yeah.
You gonna be with us tonight, tomorrow?
Actually, probably not. I didn't know about it, but
Probably not.
I don't really go here anymore, so.
You don't go here?
I don't go here anymore.
Oh. Well, all right. Say, do you have this?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
How many of you have this? How many of you play drums? Huh? How many of you own brushes? And how many have this? I'm gonna call a whole bunch of folks up. How many will you be here tomorrow? All right. Come on, son. Anything else while this young man is coming up? Yes. For practice. Okay. That's a good question. Then we'll go to that as soon as I finish with him. It's like going to the clinic or the doctor and you say, well, he always asks you, what is your problem? What hurts? So in other words, what do you want? What do you have any problem with these things?
Well, no, I just listened to a lot of, Oscar stuff with you and a lot of things with JoJo and just.
Give me some, You guys. Now, that'll work in certain circumstances. That's more of a legato type of beat. You understand what I mean? Now, if you take the, do you have another beat that you use? Right. Now, this, yeah. Now, can you get the same feeling? No. Okay, now that's what we have to work. All right. When you're doing this, we have what we call a tick-tap sound. You'll have this tomorrow. The guys are being able to work with it a lot. But as a preview, you're right at ding, 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 ding. You write it simple, the same piano. This is what you piano. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you see you want not to be. The one is one. Right. This is a pulse too. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. See? No, no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going. Okay. Now, go. Now this is important. Just get a little. When you're playing music, you're playing time. It's the interpretation stylistically how you play. When you're playing jazz, which is a very short word for very broad spectrum, and we're getting deep in swing bebop, the eighth note triplet comes into play. It's what I call the mini pulse is a triplet, eighth note triplet. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. Now every movement is going to be based on that because four note playing, right? Play based on 1, soft, 2, 3, 4. When you do that, everybody think. Pat your foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when you pat your foot, that pulse becomes one triplet. Say that. Look at your foot. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. It's 4 beats, 4 quarter notes to the bottom. It's 1. Do you have a heel flow pedal? 2, 3, 4. Where's your bass drum? Everybody pat. Now when you look at your foot and count 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Where's your foot when you say triplet, 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 triplet? Now count 8 notes. And. See where your foot is on the end? And. I'll count triplets. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Time doesn't change, feel changes. The same thing when you have this move. 1 triplet, 2. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 3 triplet. Now this is synchronized on some other. Now dynamically you have piano, fourth, piano, fourth, piano, fourth. That's 3. Now bass. Now you have a pulse. Well, if you want to get more legato feel, you go, you know what I mean? So you sort of slide it across. Now, That gives you definition. If you want to survive, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? That's your job. There's like variations on the theme. Again, it's like sound. When I first, some of the strokes, a lot of them are because of circumstances. You got when you hear this tune that we just got through playing, I hear a rhapsody. You hear the sound, the sound of the guitar, the sound of the bass. You know. How many of you know this song? All right, let me hear you sing it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You know, so now, which answers a question. Back to your question. Repertoire. A lot of you are taking European music, classical repertoire, right? Jazz is a repertoire. It's important to learn songs, whether it be show tunes, some things, but learn the melodies of tunes. I'm sure that Mr. Sofa said that 1,000,000 times to you, right? Huh? Hello? But that's serious, right? Because it's a serious business. If you're going to approach this thing, even if it's a hobby, you might as well do it right. You know, that's the whole thing. Don't cheat yourself. So back to the question. The question was, what did I learn? From all the people I played with, is that you have an instrument which you're going to express yourself through music. So don't cheat yourself. You might as well do it right. Let it out. Even if you make a mistake, make it loud and long. You know what's wrong, or mistake, whatever, and you fix it. So the melody is back, come on. Happy finger. So if I'm saying this, even on the upbeats, I'm letting the sound come through the brush on playing time. Follow what I mean? So if you're playing the same thing, if you're playing sticks, he's just soloing. The same thing with the bass drum. Listen to how the bass line runs. If he's playing two, in a two feel, 1, 2, 1. We did that. Good. See how long those notes are? Half notes. So down here, even though the attack is the sound and the duration should be ding, ding, four. Okay, now this time, I just don't do it. 1, this is 1, 2, 3. See, now he's got playing don't. So if you take don't, so you do. There's no dynamic change with those notes. You need to come to this. It's a different feel when you sit. Pat your foot. Listen to the bass. Put your hi-hat on 2 and 4. Let the bass come. Hit those notes. Bridge. Bing, 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 bang, bing, bang, bing. If you're walking, go back to the bridge if you can. Pat your foot forward. Ding, dong, ding, ding. Lock in the bass. Back to 2. See what I mean? Now, did you get the feel in there? Did you hear the melody? And that's what happens. It's subtle, it's inside. But you start living with the music. It becomes an interesting thing. Okay? All right. Yeah. Practice. What do I practice? Well, I just said to Chris this morning, I've been off a few days, and I've been over 3 weeks, and I've actually played once. So, being in shape was, so how will I start off playing? Well, I was better off than I thought. We had this wonderful gentleman to play and help me through the first piece there, so I could go along for the ride. But if I was by myself, what would I do? Well, so practicing this role is very important to me because doing things with touch. I'm working on, have been working a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, trying to get rigor mortis out of my left foot since the double pedals come in. And I've been working to develop forward coordination, which I could do a lot of things, but the coordination wasn't where I wanted it to be. I wasn't independent enough. And to play linear, you know, we talked about playing time is one thing, but making it linear, which is like the first one I saw do that, was Joe Jones again, who, when he was playing, he was doing a thing like bang, bang, bang. This 4/4 is going down here, right? See? What is that with the hi-hat? You say, that's my brass section. Well, it was like band hits. Do pop, bang, jam, you know. So he said, bang, 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 bang. Now you know you have, you know, you have that bass. Okay. Now that was in 1954 when I was about 54 when I started. Now, if you look, there's a record. It's not answer, those Charlie's on it, and Tickle Toe, a couple of others. They go back, and I remember hearing him do this. Well, that became very popular when Max did it. But I heard that back in the early 40s, it had been recorded. When was that record recorded? I don't know, it was late 30s, early 40s. That's okay. So then when Roy Hayes got all that stuff together, I used to watch him. We were playing a place called the Composer Room, a little room about as wide. The stage was here, and that was the back wall where you used to be. And that bar over here, and a little place over there where you could eat and stuff. And the other day I played with Earl May, who worked with Billy Taylor. And we just have to remember, now that was 1957, 58, 57, 58. And he said, you know, you realize we had no amplification ever to play concerts. There was no amps. Everything was acoustic. Now a lot of bass players today, if I pull a plug, it'll be pantomime up there. No sound at all. You know. But it was amazing. We just had to say, God dang, that's right. So, but anyway, Roy came in, he was working with Mary Lou Williams. This guy was playing around. He picked up some sticks in this little room. He's playing. I didn't have a lot of control with sticks, brushes I was pulling. And I was trying to see where the time, it was swinging like a sun. Sometimes the time was dropping, sometimes it was over here, it might be a combination of both, might be, you know, but it was always like this, flowing. It was linear, it just happened. And I always felt this too. Well, what I say to most of the students today is it's like getting the icing. Get the fundamentals first, then add the icing. If you don't know what it feels like to play 4/4 on the bass drum, you can't put it up here. You can't hold a band together. And if you have to come on real hard, listen, I guarantee you after work, Oscar Peterson, if you're not an Art Blakey, you're a lot of varicose veins, which I have. Just on myself, trying to hold 2 and 4, because that's still unbalanced. Okay? This fellow, learning how to play 4/4 with the bass drum, gives you a foundation. Then you can transfer that feeling. You just sit up and you feel fine. It becomes part of your attitude, you know, because you know what it feels like. Do you understand what I mean by that? Like if you pat your foot, that's one thing. If you just think your foot, you haven't been used to patting it, you can't. It's different. You understand? So the other, another thing about that is it punctuates the bass note. So even though you're playing with amplification, think acoustic. Okay, and that's what I do. Now, what do I practice? These days, it depends on what I'm getting ready to go into. As I said before, I'm trying to do this stuff, get this foot out here with my, you'll have to forgive some of it. No, you don't have to forgive it, I'll just tell you what it is. I'm trying to develop my both feet together. So what I'm doing is I'm practicing things like da, boom, boom, trying to get those even, like these hands. else than whatever it takes until I get tired. So you hear. But it's starting to move now. You know, I remember when I saw Tony when he first started at 4/4 and hi-hat years ago. It took me years, and I'm believing I tell you. Finally, I broke through after about, I think, about 10 years. Because I was so used to doing playing 2 and 4 in the hi-hat that to break me to play this. But just over and over and over again. And then learning tunes. Now I'm busy learning more. You know, the technical thing is just the same thing, the rudiments and so forth, but then I get away from it. So I think in terms of melodies, play the lines. And basically that's it. Oh, I'm working, trying to get my quality together, you know, because the authentic things. I have what I call a high-grade music. Most of the music will be done with simulated things. So the things that lay within you. And I'm trying to get my quality together. And whatever. And now I can remember the names of these things. I learned how to play it, I can remember the names of the, but I'm studying folk country because the guys who from Cuba, because some Cubans have come into Copenhagen now, some great metal there. I'm trying to get to really lock into that because I really, so I understand the folklore, like we have a fundamental thing about swing, right? There's folklore, and then you bring it, and when it gets to this country, where we're going to take it, it's what I would consider more of a hybrid, but you want to keep it, make it as authentic, because people out there who know it, react to it. And once you have it off that cloud, then you cool, whichever it is going. So whatever you want to put on top, it's okay. And it's very akin to music. That's why I said jazz, J-A-S-S, is a very small, short word for a music that has such a wide scope. When you think about the music that comes out of our heritage, which is the United States, which is a multicultural nation, you know, and all of these are influences, back to the first question, influences, whether it was like my first influence on sound, my sound I learned was with a brush when I was about 10 years old. From a guy that was taking a snare. It was this. That's the first one I learned before I knew about a super. Then later on I had Carlinhos Candelo Diorio, who is quite well known in Brazil. He won Candelo 5 gold, which was my bad, and he was doing different things. And where the Candelo held the whole orchestra, change bells and everything. And another friend, again, when everybody was playing straight A's. No, Ed, think like a butterfly. two of those. And you can do some simple stuff, man, but the feel is right. So it's like getting the feel, the authentic feel of the music. That's what that means to it. And sometimes it takes a long time for it comes natural. It's just repetition. I think living, playing with people who really know the stuff. That's what I'm doing. Any other questions? How are we doing for time? All right. No questions? All right, for those who are here tomorrow, the next there's something I'd like to talk with you about the hi-hat. It's not used as much as, again, depending on the style. It's learning how to use it, getting the sound of the hi-hat. This sing this. That's the sound of it. And that is a little open. Piano, forte. Remember that sound because that's the sound of the hi-hat, basic sound. But remember that sound, because years ago when they had the hi-hat up here, it was whatever, the stuff, down 8 to 16, or the triplet, and the accent came with the hand. It's not. That's an exaggeration. Right, some students come and feel like they have to hit that 2 and 4 hard over here. It's just close. The teacher, by the way, has a perfect stroke. There's 2 guys, I mean several guys, but 2 I know watching. And that's Ed and Ben Ryan. Perfect stroke. But that's very important, learning how to blend with the music. You want to try the A train? So what I'm talking about now is learning to play these implements that we have here. Even though it's a trio, you heard the ukulele, the band, together with the orchestra. And you hit that first note. Doom. It's like, put the key. See? Hit first chord. Flag. Hear that? Flag. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it's in flag, but it's long. That's the note. That's the first chord. Get that? So his note is boom, right? Now that's down there where that baritone was. Boom, that's that reed section. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now, the time figure, bang, tick, tang, tick, tang, is this, becomes like a motif. Tang, 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 rather than play all. Now, there are other ways you can do this, but if you keep it steady, it's like playing bar. Beep, beep, boop, beep, 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 boop, beep, beep. It gives you a little flavor, but basically it's the time. If I said 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's one sound. When I change tempo, which one seems to be more effective between these three? Which one? This one? This one for you? Okay. For me personally, if I'm thinking saxophone section, I want to use this one. And the reason being, once again, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's cool. If I only have this simple, that's cool. If I only have this simple, that's still cool. For me, I can simulate this because if you think of a saxophone section, and this is something maybe not discussed too much, but I remember my dad used to say, he had a Chinese son. He said, Edmund, you learn how to play that fellow behind the saxophone section, he'll die. He'll just like, it's like it's acoustic lays underneath. And when I do it, you know, and I'm moving back. This is, you can go on and on and on. But I think mainly what I'm trying to get across to you is this instrument as an extension of yourself, as your way of expressing yourself and making music. So all the devices that you're going to use, the end result is you want to make music. Now again, my main influence was Joe Jones. And what he said to me, he said a couple of things. One was be on time. This is your profession. The other thing said, oh, you dressed up. I said, well, this is my profession. Character, dignity. Be proud. This is called a throne. One of you in a man. So it's like you're the king, the queen, and the throne. You sit here and you have all the horses and little elements around you. You can control all the stuff. Next to the conductors and composers, you live. Drummer should be the highest paid man in the band. But the whole lot, and the other thing is that be on time. Be proud of what you're doing. You carry that. Don't cheat yourself. He said, when it's time to hit, you be up there ready to play. It's 8 o'clock hit, as soon as 8 is, you say, if nobody else is there. Bars to hit. Because when the man comes to pay you, there used to have a thing called docking. That means they take some money from your salary, but you think, see, I don't want to hear it, I hit. You're on time, you hit, you want your money.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that, back to the musical aspect of drums, playing music. He said, if nobody shows up, you may have to play the dance by yourself. Because we did a lot of playing for dancing. And by knowing how to play this song, you just say, now we're talking about swing now, and you'd be saying, this is a little orchestra. Piano's an orchestra. So everything's orchestra. You play orchestra. Whatever instrument, the same with the drums. Okay? Are we about through? Well, it's okay.
Would you like to play out of tune?
Huh?
Could you play out of tune? Put the tom-tom up and play out of tune?
Yeah, put the top down. But speaking of tom-tom, one of the reasons I moved that, so you see this. There's a tune called Sleep. Bip, 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 wanna play over?
Do I want to play over there?
Yeah.
Why don't you play over there?
Come on. Tomorrow we'll do our duet, okay? Yeah, okay. We got bad duet. Bad to me. also want to personally thank my sponsors. Sabian, Colado, Remo. I didn't get to the snare drum, but tomorrow we'll get to it. And tell you that support these people because they are interested in education. Even when the system sometimes doesn't seem to be in the corner, it's nice to have people who will give you a hand, and we have each other. And the other thing I want to say is just live and stay healthy. Believe me, I'm a living testimony to say you can do that. There's some of the stuff I can do now. 5 years ago, if you held a gun to my head and say, do that, I couldn't do it. So live and stay healthy, everything's possible. Thank you very much. Yeah. From Europe, where it's really wonderful. Thank you very much again. Have a good day.
Yes, let's go.
Right, huh?
Yeah, I guess that way.
Open out of here. Good.
So that boy good.
I felt like my brothers in here when he was doing that snare, he was a tap dance.
Hey, you remember that?
Hey, are we going or what? Yeah, I give it to Chris.
Write it down.
Wow, yeah, I don't know. Fire that up once.